How big a deal is it to tap into this market?
It's a great market. It's been a bit of a black hole. You know, not because there wasn't potential, but you know, it's hard to go into a market without the security of having a local fighter. And a local fighter you can draw. I mean, it's one thing you can build Errol through, you know, local club shows, but you know, to really have an impact, you got to get Errol to a place where he's nationally known, and then he's going to get attention. It's one thing to build a fighter in a small local market from ground zero. Then he can become something big pretty quickly in some of these smaller cities. But your city like Dallas, that has, you know, MLB, that has NBA, that has NFL, you know, putting Errol on at 10-0, 12-0, 14-0, it's tough to make an impact. So when I look at Errol, I think he's coming back to Dallas at exactly the right time, when he can come in here and make a splash. I know he's wanted to fight here for a long time, but I think this is the best way to do it. And now, having made this kind of impact, he's now setting up the market for not just his benefit, but for others as well.
Do you think y'all laying the groundwork indirectly of getting to the real stadium, the big house?
Look, I would love to do that, and I'm sure, you know, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I can think of some sort of hypothetical matchups that, you know, maybe could go in there. It's a little whiles off, but look, Errol's the guy that, you know, everyone seems to think he's going to be one of the sort of pillars supporting boxing for the next, you know, the next generation. So there's no reason why he shouldn't be able to do stadium fights in his home city.
Do fights like this make you a little bit nervous? Obviously, I know you're thinking ahead, the unification fights, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter. But Ocampo could come and ruin all that. So,
you know, that's why we love the sport. I mean, is because there can be a guy. You know, I tell the story, you know, way back when I was working with Golden Boy Promotions, and he just signed Marco Antonio Barrera, and came into San Antonio, the Alamo Dome, with, you know, this Filipino kid that, you know, nobody knew, and it was sort of like, okay, do a quick fight and move on and on. And that Filipino kid, you know, destroyed Barrera and became Manny Pacquiao. You know, no one took that as a risky fight at the time. So there is never a sure thing. When you have guys like Ocampo who have grown up without much, you know, and are fighting for their livelihood, you can never, you know, sort of disrespect or take lightly a man who's fighting for his livelihood.
How big it is the fact that Showtime's on everybody's radar? You got, of course, the Rival Network, HBO talking. You got UFC talking about y'all. How the fact that y'all on the forefront because y'all success at y'all in people's mouths?
It's great, and you know, it goes back to really sort of investing in the fighters, because it may feel sometimes it's happened overnight, but it's been a process, you know, of building the Charlos. You know, the Charlos haven't been on any pay network other than us. You know, they haven't been on any network other than Showtime. So it sort of feels like, oh, you know, they just burst on the scene all of a sudden over the last 9 months. You know, we're doing 7-8 fights with them to get there. We've done 10 fights with Deontay to get him to this point. You know, so it's a slow build. You know, and then, you know, you get a point, and then it sort of says, you get all these guys, this class of talent to a level where you've got Thurman, Garcia, and Spence, and Porter, and the Charlos, and Wilder, and it's sort of like, wow, all these guys have matured, you know, at the same time, and then you get, you know, a little bit of the golden era. I don't want to overstate it, but you got a really good era because you've got 8 or 10 named guys in their prime at the same time.
Steven, you talk about investing in these fighters. Is the goal still to try and create pay-per-view stars, or has that model kind of shifted a little bit?
I think the goal is to make them as big as they can. And, you know, fundamentally, our number one job is programming on Showtime, of course. But if we do that really, really successfully, it's unavoidable. There's going to be some, you know, fights that are so big that they deserve to be on pay-per-view. So I think, you know, our bread and butter is still going to be Showtime. We'll go to pay-per-view when the fight deserves it, or when, you know, the circumstances deserve it. I mean, if it's a top-tier fight and it can't happen other than on pay-per-view, I don't think anybody begrudges it. I think where it's bad for the sport and the fans start to push back and you guys start to push back is if you're putting fights on pay-per-view that are not premium fights, that are not top-tier fights. Fans have shown, boxing fans have shown, they will pay, for filet mignon when you give them filet mignon. But don't give them ground beef and charge filet mignon prices.